But then I immediately ask when I see that, could you maybe show me and explain me an electrocardiogram, for example? Yes, a simple electrocardiogram. It's being used in every hospital. It's being used to monitor patients in every operating room, in every ICU of the world. And yet it's a reflection of a frequency. The Dutch physician Eindhoven, over 100 years ago, was able to display for the first time that he could measure frequency of the hearts, not just how many times the heart beats per second, but he could also take the energy from the current, from the frequency of the heart every time the heart beats. And this is what we know today as the electrocardiogram. And another physician in Germany, also about 100 years ago, found that there are in fact brainwaves that you can measure. And we call this an EEG, or electroencephalogram. And so this is being used today on a daily basis to figure out your brain waves, if you have seizures or things like that. Now, every time you have an electric current going through your body, perpendicular to that electric current, you will have electromagnetic field. And so the question is, since a lot of currents go up and down in our body, how can we measure, or do we even have an electromagnetic field? And several people claim we do. And so let me show you. If you don't believe that, let's just look into modern medical science. Here you're going to see magnetogastrography, or magnetocardiography, or even magnetoencephalography. What that is, it's a measurement of the electromagnetic fields from the outside of the body, looking at what's happening in your gut, for example, with your microbiome, with the vibration of your gut, with your movements of your gut, or to look at what's happening in your heart from the outside, non-invasive, and even to look at some of the stuff that happens in your brain non-invasively. So let's go a little bit to the brain and look at brain waves. So there is different form of main brain waves, and we call them beta, alpha, theta, and delta. So when I'm awake and I'm talking to you right now, I'm firing a bunch of beta brain waves. But when I close my eyes and I'm still active and I'm somewhat creative, my brain will start firing more in the alpha brain waves. And then when I do a deep meditation, deep breathing, and align myself with nature and the earth, then I will go down to theta waves. And theta waves are really, really calming. And then when you go into really deep sleep, where you don't even have dreams, that's when you're in delta waves. So very early on, I started doing research with these brain waves. And here you see a picture of a visitor of ours. It's the Royal Crown Diamond, Connie McDaniel. Thank you very much for being my guinea pig. And I put the band around her head so we could measure her brain waves from the outside. I connected to Bluetooth to my handy, and I could see her brain waves on my handy, and I gave her lavender essential oil to smell, and immediately her brain calmed down. And then I measured her concentration, and I gave her peppermint essential oil to smell, and within about 3 to 5 seconds I immediately started seeing an increase in concentration seen in the yellow line here. In fact, within about 10 seconds I saw an increase in concentration of almost 30%. Very impressive. Then when I was in Japan on a tour, I came across this Aroma Routine brain scanner. And what it did, similarly, it would measure your brain waves and then put it on a handy, and that handy was programmed to show you the state of mind you're in. And so here I was smelling a stress away, and again, within about a minute or so, I was able to see on the scan that I was really in a very relaxed state. And that's using the same technology, looking at your brain waves. But then I took this way to the next level. There's something we'll call quantitative electroencephalogram. And what that is, again, it's measuring your EEG, your brain waves, and then assigning colors to these different brain waves in the different parts of the brain. And so in this case, you see, for example, we assigned the color red to more slow brain waves, more the relaxing type of brain waves. And so it's not astonishing when you see lavender or chamomile are the ones that are really slowing you down, so hence the color red. So then I took that a step further, and I put on an entire helmet, and I did an EEG, a medical grade EEG. And then we used the same technology to assign colors to the different parts of the brains. And then I started smelling essential oils. And at the same time, I was able to see on the TV screen, real time, my brain. I could turn it around, I could look at different different parts of the brain and different brain waves. And this is what I found. When I was smelling peppermint essential oil, my left frontal brain, that's where you get all the attention into your body, into your brain, this is where it got activated. When I smelled lemon essential oil, I activated my left side temporal lobe, which means I was listening better, you know, this is the area around the ear, and I was better processing language. And then when I smelled lavender, stress away, frankincense, I was able to see that my limbic system, my really old part in the middle of the brain, was calming completely down. I was completely relaxed. And then I took two mixtures, one called Thieves and the other called Digest. And interestingly, my entire brain was lightening up in very, very active brain waves, which tells me that the spices you're going to find in these oil mixtures are really activating to your brain. And so here I'm going to show you a little clip of the live measurements that I did with this kind of technology.
I have a brain cap on. We're going to measure all my brain waves, and we're going to see into the brain, and we're going to smell some essential oils.
Each one of those squares on the picture represents a 5 millimeter voxel of electrical information. Those are your brain waves.
Yeah.
They're measured in cycles per second, or how many times they go up and down in a second. And this is the front part of your brain here. This is the top of the head. And then if we turn here, this is the back. Each one of these green dots represents one of the electrodes on your head.
So the first one I'm going to use is peppermint.
If I'm going to use peppermint oil, I would use it to help me to focus and concentrate, right?
That's right.
So, and when do we normally need to focus and concentrate is when we're going too slow, like brain fog. So let me take this and window it to that theta. Now this here in the frontal lobe is the part of the brain that's in charge of focus and attention.
I'm smelling peppermint now.
So you've got, oh, now this is really interesting, Dr. Olie. The left side of the brain typically is associated with positive emotions, and the right side of the brain with negative emotions. The left side of the brain is analytical, the right side of the brain is big picture.
And which one are we activating here?
So the left side of your brain is looking like it has more beta than the right side of the brain.
Which means I'm positive.
Positive
So peppermint makes me active, analytical, and positive.
Interesting.
That's very interesting. So again, I'm going to say this very loud. Peppermint has made me positive and activated my focus and my analytical thinking.
So another question is, do essential oils have frequency? If everything in nature has frequency, you would think essential oils do have frequency. And so a lot of people are saying this is really crazy, this is cuckoo, and other people are completely convinced that they have frequency. So just to put that question at rest, absolutely. If essential oils would not have frequency, they would deny all the laws of physics and all the laws of chemistry. Because when you look, for example, at frankincense essential oils, it's made out of a bunch of natural compounds. And each of these compounds have a natural organic formula, as you see here, for alpha-pinene, for insensol acetate, or for beta-boswellic acid or alpha-boswellic acid. All of those are slightly different. And every time these carbon atoms come together or bind another chemical group, that binding is a vibration, is a frequency, is a form of energy. So of course, when you put it all together, it's just very complicated. All these natural extracts, of course, do have frequencies. It's just the question is, how would you measure these frequencies? And that's the big one.